Welcome to Season 4 of The Biz Show, sponsored by InvestQuire. Discover what's next with this insightful podcast. And now, your hosts, Barry and Lisa. Happy Friday, Barry.
Lisa, how are you? Yes, it's Friday, isn't it? The sun is shining, Things are looking good.
Exactly. And thanks to all the software tools out there, we're able to do this from a distance and bring our audience.
Can I reach out and grab you? Well, wait a minute. I don't mean it like that.
Well, one day that may be
maybe
happening.
It's more like we'll slap each other around is probably the better saying, right?
You know, speaking of businesses, I was out to dinner with a girlfriend in Laguna Beach on one of the evenings that was just beautiful weather this week. And we met some business professionals because they tend to gravitate towards a beachfront setting, being from the East Coast in the snow. So they were there having a business dinner after work. And I was like, hey, I said, what do you guys do for a living? And they said, well, we are in the smell and taste business. And so then, of course, our conversation.
What smell and taste mean? Okay, taste is food.
And he says, well, like your dryer sheets, those cling sheets, those have like these fragrances. He says, well, our product is there. He said, and our tastes are in like Doritos and the Pringles and your Pop-Tarts. And I said, oh, you are the guys that are trying to kill us. Well, Barry.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a really nice conversation. But there's business people all around us. And it's just fascinating, like what industries people come from and, all sorts of things. And they're all traveling across the United States to make business happen. So,
I completely agree with you. And being in California for as long as I've born and raised, right? And now coming out to the East Coast, it's a different flavor of people, but yet they're still in business. They're still doing stuff. But no, are they Silicon Valley? Absolutely not. Are they, Los Angeles, San Diego? No. But they still have businesses to run and they still have business needs and everything else. So,
right.
Well,
so funny. You don't know about what somebody does unless you ask, right?
This is true. And so now we know they're in smell and taste.
There's a job for that. And they taste throughout the day, It's really funny, but yeah.
Well, everybody, welcome.
Hey, yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the Biz Show. And
welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. This is episode 6 now.
All right, season 4.
Season 4, here we go. Well, listen, we want to talk today, and our topic today is really about business plans, and specifically the one-page business plan. And then what that is, and then how can you turn that into a full-blown business plan, or even if you should turn that into a full-blown business plan, right? So, most business owners don't fail because of lack of ideals. They fail because all the ideals are in their head. They haven't gotten them down on paper, right?
Yeah, a lot of people get overwhelmed by those ideas, and so then they don't execute a business plan, but it doesn't have to be a lengthy, business plan that makes you feel like overwhelmed by it. We are here today talking about just a one-pager to simplify that and just sort of like a view of your company and where it's going and what you're doing with it.
Yeah. Let's face it, you and I, we've started InvestQuire, and then out of that came the Biz Show, right? And we sat down and we talked about it and we scribbled stuff out on paper or scribbled stuff out on a napkin at a restaurant, right? That can be the start, right? So that is the beginning of your business plan. You're getting it out of your head. You're putting it down on a piece of paper, right? If you put it down in a piece of paper, then you're more likely to execute that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I had a mentor in real estate years ago. And he and I would meet for a business lunch once a month, and it would be like at a pizza restaurant or salad or what have you. And he would always put notes for me how to execute in a more efficient manner or some business tips on a napkin. And to this day, and I really, really honored his coaching and mentoring because he just simplified my career in a very easy, pragmatic way. And it really has created my success by listening to him. So I have to this day all of the napkins.
I was just going to ask that question. Do you have them?
If I were to take all of his little napkins and put them in one page, I would have a business plan. And I'm here living proof to say that it worked because I've been successful consistently.
Perfect. Perfect.
20, yeah. So what it's not is a big, huge pitch deck, which we ask our corporations for, or a big marketing proposal document, or any financial aspects. We don't really want those things, right?
Right. And how can you fit all that in a napkin or a one page anyway, right? So,
Right.
but what it is, it's a tool for clarity, right? It's a decision making framework, and it's a document that can communicate your ideas. And the thing is this, and people miss this all the time. And companies, I talk to them, they have their business plan. All right, when's the
Yep.
last time that you looked at it? Oh, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. Oh, wow, really? Okay, so it needs to be updated. Who's seen it? Oh, just me. Well, that doesn't do any good, right? Spread that thing out. You should have that document somewhere so everybody can see the business plan. That way, everybody in the company knows what direction the company is going.
Exactly. My kids had goals when they were growing up, and they would put like their plan of action for the next, you know, calendar school year, if you will, on their mirror, and that was their business plan. They had
Yeah,
these notes and specific thoughts and ideas, and they would put it on their mirror like a post-it note or a taped up a piece of paper, and they looked at it every day.
yeah,
And so it helped
almost like a vision
vision.
board too, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, again, it's just getting this information out, right? Ideas and deals really are best run businesses can explain their model in under 5 minutes,
Yeah. That means you
right?
know what you're doing, you're just passionate about it, and you have confidence with your business ideas, right?
Right,
And
exactly.
invest your clarity of your vision. They don't need some complex, story that may not be bulletproof. So the more clear and simple you are in your business plan, the more effective you can be in the delivery of it to an investor if you're seeking capital.
Right. So let's talk about what you need in that business plan, right? There's 8 core things that really should be in that business plan, even if it's a one pager. And you need that bullet item and then maybe just a sentence or two underneath that. But that's your starting point of the things that you can move forward on, right? So
Mhm.
of the first one, probably the most important, and everybody gets this all the time, but is your vision and your objectives, right?
Mhm. Right.
So, what problem are you solving? And then, where's the business going to be in 3 years, and 5 years, and 10 years? And then how are you growing the business? How are you exiting the business? Or is it a legacy business you're passing on to, family members, so on and so forth?
Right. And then, so yeah, so just be very clear in that vision. And then number two, you want to like target your customer and your market in your business plan. So you know exactly who it is that you are servicing or who you're providing the product to. And know your industry and the size and your buyer persona. I always say, target your demographic buyer persona so that you're very effective in the delivery of your services and that you're speaking to the pain points of your consumer. Um, and niche, and then you want to decide whether the niche of your business is more important than servicing a broader market. So, really, that is tying into your demographic client, whether it's going to be a niche buyer or a whole market. So don't be vague. Really be specific in that and knowing who your customer is.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say one more thing to that as you were talking, it just popped in my head. you
Yeah,
know, practice your service or your product on your friends and family, right? And your local
exactly.
market, and get really good at that, because some products and some services are national or global. And
Right.
it can be real tough to launch that product globally when you haven't even tackled the local area. So food for thought.
Yeah. Don't overwhelm yourself with trying to get it out there to the entire world. Just focus on the people that are right under your nose because they could be your best clients,
They could very
right?
well be, yeah. So the number 3 item that really you need to think about when you're doing this business plan is the value proposition. And
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is, okay, what are you giving, and why should customers go with you, right? What
Exactly.
makes you different from ABC next door or EFG on the other side of you, right? So, what is that value that brings you? Can you do it better? Can you do it faster? Can you do it cheaper? Or, maybe you do it differently. That's fine. But you need to define that, right? You need to know. And then, of course, your employees need to know this as well. And then lastly, with that value proposition, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And are there better alternatives, right? So maybe there's a problem and you've come out with the solution for this that works. However, Lisa and I use this term all the time in almost every single podcast, pivot, because maybe there's something even better than what you're doing now. Take a look at your competition, right? Take a look and see what they're doing. You should study them.
Yeah, there's a customer for everyone. So the more you do identify with your value proposition, the more business you're going to get from that. And then you'll be able to have a really strong business plan, knowing the services that you may be different from the competitor next door, knowing what you can improve upon regarding the product or service of your competitors. So really studying the market and doing your backhand research, which we've talked about on other podcasts, will help you define that value proposition and just kind of tune into that and really drive that point. Because I tell all my salespeople that know your value proposition, because there's a million billion brokers in the industry. So what is different about you and why are you going to be successful? Really need to know that so you can lead with that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what's number 4, Lisa?
So the next one for your business plan, you want to make sure that you do include your revenue model and how you expect money to come in, because that's going to make your business survive, right? So you want that to be really strong in your business plan, having primary revenue streams so that you can build off of that and have a really good foundation to launch your business. And use pricing logic when you're doing your pricing of your services or products. It doesn't have to be so detailed in pricing, but just a general pricing strategy that you could define in your business plan. Um, yeah. And so
Yeah,
buyers look for the,
you know,
um,
um, here's a term, and people write this down, right? Because this is the term you're going to hear, and it's exactly what Lisa's talking about. We're talking about a revenue model, but you may hear from investors pro forma. This is a pro
yeah,
forma, right? Pro forma is your projected financials, right? How you projecting you're going to make money. And so buyers are looking for repeatable and understandable revenue, right? So they want to make sure that you have business coming in on a regular type of basis, because if they're investing in your company, they're expecting a return on that. And if your customers are coming in sporadically or stuff like that, it's going to be a long time before they get their money back. They're not going to be happy about that.
yeah. Consistency is key to stability. So we want to make sure we could show the consistency of your pricing and that it will bring about those repeat customers,
Yes,
right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. You want to talk about the next one, Barry, with the key
Sure,
drivers?
sure. Well, we just talked about KPIs last week, didn't
Yeah.
we?
Right.
But and so here we are in this again, and you should have these in your business plan, right? And pick, as we said earlier, just pick a few. You don't need 25, 30 KPIs in here. And what's a KPI again? It is a key performance indicator. It's a number or something that you are staging or checking something against. Maybe it's a daily number for revenue, and this is what you want, $100 a day, and so that's your target. Now you know if you're higher or if you're lower. And I'm just picking a number, right? If I'm in a business that's doing $100 a day, I'm going to get rid of that business because it ain't making enough money.
Right.
But so those should be. And I say pick three. You want to pick a revenue, you want to pick a cost, and you want to pick operations or operational. And so revenue is self-explanatory, cost is self-explanatory because cost of goods, right? So if you're selling a product, maybe you're in a restaurant. Well, that food comes with a cost, right? You're buying that food from a farmer or from a grocery store or whatever. So you have to bake those numbers into the revenue. And then the
Mhm.
operational side is your payroll, your rent, and all the other things that kind of go along with that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
number five. Ow.
Uh, number six. That's six. No. Oh, six is operations and execution, right? So make sure you
Right.
have an executed plan within your business plan and identify it. So how your business is actually going to run, maybe how many employees you have, who are the key people that run the company, and your key processes, so that that could fully be, transparent and um, designed to make yourself be very effective, not overpaying for having too many employees and not enough revenue, keep all those checks and balances in balance. And the people, the systems, the vendors, from your CEO to the janitor, really define like who's actually living within the structure of your company. So that would be under item number six, which is your
Yeah.
operations and how you execute on a daily basis.
And that's really also where job description should live, right? From your janitor to your CEO, you should have a job description for everybody to do this. Because why hire
Yeah.
somebody, throw them, put them down at a desk and say, okay, go to work, if you haven't
Yeah.
defined what they're going to do, right?
Would they need to include the job description in the business plan? Not
No,
really,
not
right?
no, no, not at all. Just just
They're fine.
job descriptions would be good, right? Because
Uh,
I mean, I've done this with all the business. I've written job descriptions for every single position in the company, and you know, it's it's a tedious task and it's kind of boring in a sense, but nonetheless, to me, it's a training tool for the employees. If you're not there, they can pull out their job description and go, oh, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and then go do it, right?
right.
So it
Yep.
doesn't have to be a formal job description that you're going to get from GE or Microsoft or something like that, but it's got to have some girth to it to be able to say, here you
Something for them to adhere by. So when you're doing those performance reviews, you
go.
can have say, I gave you
Hey,
your job description.
what's a
This is
performance
why
review?
this is why I can't give you a raise or a bonus or whatnot. So yeah,
Right. I guess
you're protected.
Lisa, I
Go
guess
ahead.
you got to do performance review on me, and I have to do one on you.
I I do it every day, Barry.
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
yeah.
Okay, so
So
number
there's
seven would be competitive advantage, right? So what makes you
yeah,
different from your competition? And what are the barriers to get into your market, right? So some markets do have barriers. Like if you're going into the restaurant business, well, you need a location. You need ovens and stoves and grills and fryers and stuff like that. If you're in a car dealership, well, you need cars, right? You need a place to store those cars. If you're a grocery store, well, you also need a building, and then you need a bunch of shelves to put your goods on. So barriers to get into that market, and then what are your relationships, and what happens if you need to pivot, right? Good word there, pivot to a different vendor or whatever case might be. I'll give you an example here. At one business I worked at, and I talked about working at a food company as a district manager a while back. Um, we had to pivot from one vendor to another. And that pivot cost us a lot of money to make that happen, logistics wise, right? So, um, barriers, again, those are things. What you want to do at all costs is protect your margins.
yeah, you can't anticipate or what do you call it, forecast everything that could happen, but definitely know like what potential hurdles you may have to overcome so that you have the financial backing to do so, or you can pivot and maybe save money on somewhere else in your budget to allow
Yeah.
that to happen.
Who
Mhm.
who could have forecasted COVID?
Ugh, yeah.
Right?
Nobody? Maybe the
Yeah. No,
politicians. I'm not going there.
yeah. Who knows? All right.
Yeah.
Number eight. So the last one
I mean,
here.
yeah, it ties into what you were just talking about, the risks of your business. I mean, obviously, you can't just be, naive and think everything you're going to do is going to pay off and leaps and bounds, and you're not going to have any hurdles whatsoever, because there's always challenges in every business. And so identify them, show them up front in your business plan so that you are, you know, presenting a very wise, if you will, business plan, being aware of those risks and those constraints that may hold you back in establishing more and more business. So identify those, know your market, know your people, know your capital restraints or your capital availability. your operational bottlenecks that could potentially happen in getting to the next level or expanding your company. And then also you have regulatory or industry exposure and standards that you have to adhere to. So
Yes.
just be aware of all of your limitations. You know, people that are making investment in you, they want to know that you know what those are so that they have confidence that you've identified them in your business plan and in your preparatory stages of, starting a company or launching an idea. So investors will trust the founders who actually have done that research and that knowledge and know their risks so that there takes away any questions off the table because you've
You
already
can't
addressed
stress
it.
that enough, Lisa. That's right. Trust is a big
Yeah.
thing,
hmm
right?
Yeah. So the more information you provide, the more real data that you have in your research and knowing those hurdles that could potentially happen. And then you'll be able to pivot to avoid them because you know what they are,
But
right?
wait a minute. I always provide you with all kinds of information. You come back and say, Barry, just give me a paragraph. I don't need 65 pages.
Because I'm already thinking of the solution. I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I know all this. Like, I catch your drift, Barry, but what's the solution? Yeah,
Solutions on the
I'm like,
back page. You should just slip to the back page. There's the solution, right? You know, it's
exactly,
funny when I get proposals all the time. I don't even look at the proposal. I flip to the financial page. What's this going to cost me?
exactly.
And then
Do
I
they know
look
the
at
risk?
it, and if it lines up with what I'm expecting to pay, then I'll go back and start reading the proposal.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
It's like when you go shopping for a car, you're looking at the gas mileage, the leather interior, or the price.
right.
Everyone decision making strategy on how they effectively make purchases or decide on big investment.
Exactly, exactly. Well, so those are the 8 things really that you need to make sure that you get in your business plan, even if it's a one pager. At least touch and brush those things so that as later on down the road, as your business grows, you can elaborate on that thing and turn it into a full blown business plan, right? So, can a company get by with one pager? Sure, in the early
Yeah,
stages, you can, absolutely, right? If it's just you, okay. But still, don't keep it in your head. Get it on paper, right? And then, make sure that it aligns with as you're bringing people on. As I said, let your employees read your business plan, right? Because that's where you initially started. That gets your vision and your strategy in. So why wouldn't you share that with them?
exactly. Yeah, some employees hold back 'cause they don't want to step on your toes. If they have a certain vision, they want to, follow your lead, so to speak. So if you present to them your lead, they may be able to tap right into that because it may fully align. So yeah,
Well, as
good.
the saying goes, and I hate for saying it this way because it says, but one man's an island, but it's really one person's an island, right? So if you don't share that with anybody, who's going to know?
Yes, that is true. And they always say, don't be a secret agent. Let people know that you're an agent. Let people know what you do. So yeah, it's definitely share your business plan. Is we want to
Yeah.
drill that in.
So as you are transitioning from a startup and moving into a full-blown company, then we need to talk about a full business plan. And we're not going to go through, I mean, we went through the topics of kind of what you need to have there, but when is the time to really get a full business plan, right? And
Well,
so when
some
do we need that,
circumstances.
Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some circumstances that will require that when you are seeking capital from large banking institutions. I mean, the lengthier your business plan, the better for them to have and be able to underwrite your loan. SBA loans is one of those. Strategic partnerships with other corporations, acquisitions or roll ups are definitely those circumstances and times when you'll have to present a full strategic business plan that is definitely more than a one page. So we could cover that in another episode, Barry and I. Maybe we could bring that to the table for you guys on
Yeah.
what goes into a full fledged business plan. But today we're just talking about those, one pagers just to present to your um, partnerships that you have already in place to, operate your company or have an existing company. You might want to update your business plan annually so that if you pivot or whatnot, you would reflect that in
I
your
actually
in your decision.
say revisit it quarterly, right? I've always said that, right? You need because things change on a regular basis, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, absolutely. Every year, take a look at that business plan, but you should at least touch it, review it, at least every quarter.
Yeah. Good tip. Well,
So here's the thing. There are things that equate from the one pager into the full blown business plan, right? For instance, the
yeah.
vision was that becomes your executive summary, right?
It's really the framework for the full plan. So it's like an
Yeah,
outline of what you have to beef up and expand upon in a real full blown business plan. So, yeah, use it as a reference and a framework of how to design your real lengthy business plan that encompasses everything. So each section will become like a chapter of that one pager, right?
exactly. So vision becomes your executive summary. Marketing becomes the marketing analysis. Revenue, the performa then becomes your financials. KPIs are your forecast, right? So all of those equate to something, and then they will help you as you get further down the road how to expand on that.
Yeah, right. And for investors, the one pager will show your strategic thinking and it will help them to make sense of your business very quickly to see if it's a match or they have an alignment. And it's also requested before you give them that next step of like a really lengthy pitch deck or your executive summary or a full business plan. So it's really just that opens the door to the conversation and allows them to know who you are, and all of those things that we just covered in today's podcast. But then again, when you're dealing with the banks, and the institutional lenders and SBA loans, a one pager is not going to suffice.
It's not going
So,
to suffice at all, right?
yep,
It basically signals you don't know what you're doing.
I know. So have the one ready to go if you are seeking capital.
Yes, definitely so. So as far as tips here, right? We always try to present 5 tips, and then
Yep.
also 5 things to avoid. So tip number one is this is not a presentation; it's your decision-making document, right? So you
Yeah.
put your vision and all these things on here. This is going to help you to make decisions.
Right. Yeah. And if it takes more than one page, you're probably avoiding some hard choices, right? So that's
Right.
pro tip two.
Yes. So yeah, definitely. Number 3 is update it quarterly, right? So because things change, and maybe you started out here because you thought you were going to be just by yourself in this business, and now 3 months later, you've got 5 employees.
Exactly. We're
That
kind of
business
at that stage.
plan, yeah, is now you
Our
got to
business
revisit.
is expanding, and we've revisited our business plan recently as well,
Yes,
which is just sort of tied in with the beginning of a year too, which feels great. Right? We are having new goals this year in 2026.
yes, we are.
So yeah, pro tip number 4, tie every KPI to a strategic objective. So what those KPIs should look like. And then you have a clear vision and objective, like how you're moving forward to strengthen those numbers.
Right. And remember, just pick starting out 3 to 5. And also remember what we said in last episode. Assign somebody to be the manager of that KPI,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
that way you can ensure, because you can't be everywhere and do everything at once, right? So if you got
Yeah.
staff, let them do some things. The last
Somebody that's
one,
oriented. Yep. What's
yep,
pro tip number 5?
is align with your leadership, right? Don't worry about impressing your customers or your anyone else. Just make sure that your leadership in your business is on the same page you are. Again, if you shared your business plan with them and your
Yeah.
strategies, then they kind of know the direction you're heading. And yeah, it's like a football team, right? You're going
Right.
to throw the ball down the field in order for a touchdown. So make
Yeah.
sure that everybody is on the same play as you're moving down the field.
Exactly. And I know, Barry, we like to give you the tips just to give you sort of a brief synopsis of what we talked about on the podcast, but we also like to talk about things to avoid, just to always
Yes.
keep that forefront of your mind so you don't get confused when you're executing a business plan or a one pager. And one of the tips to avoid would be not to make it a marketing flyer. You're not trying to sell anybody your business product or your service, but you're actually identifying things that could, go wrong with your business plan, those risk indicators. And then also using buzzwords and, again, like trying to be a salesperson in your business plan is not what you're looking to do. You're wanting to make sure you have a clear vision and you provide clarity of how you're going to carry out the plan itself,
Right.
and don't avoid those risks. I mean, I'm kind of that person that always thinks positive. So don't avoid the risks or the constraints that could come up. Always be aware of those, and make sure that is part of your business plan.
Yep,
And don't
definitely.
try to hit it with too many KPIs. I know that you said just pick three of them, three main ones that will help keep
Hmm.
your business strong and afloat. So
Yep.
don't have to include every single KPI. And then that becomes maybe the focus of the business plan because you don't want it to be too heavy in a negative, overview. Um, and treat it like a one-time, exercise. Like this isn't something that you have to adhere to, but something that you're just, for initial, stake, this is what you're going to execute going forward.
Yeah, just make sure you revisit it, right? So revisit it on a regular type of basis because you should be adding to it. And if you add to it on a regular basis, it's going to write itself.
There you go.
There you go,
Yeah.
right? Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Biz Show. We appreciate you guys very much. Please don't forget to subscribe. And you can get a hold of Lisa or myself at
Yep.
investquire.com.
Yep. And the Biz Show is all over Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Radio, iHeartRadio, Apple. You'll find our audio on all of those platforms. And of course, our video that we're starting to do now on YouTube. So check us out, tell your friends, share it with the business client, colleague, customer, whoever, and get our name out there. We want to help you guys and we want you on the show and we want your feedback too. So please feel free to reach out.
Please. Yes, thank you guys so much. You guys have a great day and go make some money.
Thank you all for listening to the Biz Show podcast. Subscribe to stay updated and follow Barry and Lisa on Facebook at The Biz Show. Share your comments or suggest business topics that you'd like to hear. Thank you all for listening. Bye.